They received the envelopes before dawn in a concrete staging room that smelled like oil and recycled air. 10 operators stood shoulder to shoulder as an intelligence officer slid identical black sealed packets across a steel table. Each was stamped with a white number from 1 to 10. No names, no explanations. Just a reminder that the order inside was to be opened only when command authorization was confirmed. Sergeant Marcus Kane, the squad leader, didn't like the weight of his envelope even before he knew what it said. Secrets in war always weigh more than ammunition. The mission briefing was standard on the surface. A high-value extraction turned elimination into a failed state quarter. But the language was too careful, too rehearsed, like someone was afraid of the words themselves. Hours later, under the red light of a moving transport, King finally opened Order 1. It told him to maintain squad cohesion at all costs, a line that seemed obvious until he realized cohesion was being defined before it was even threatened. One by one, the others opened theirs in silence as the vehicle rattled over broken roads. Each order was different but complementary, layered instructions about contingencies, chain of command, asset denial, and behavioral monitoring. No one spoke about what they'd read. Sealed orders are designed to isolate, even when everyone knows isolation is the goal. The operation began cleanly enough. Insertion was smooth, resistance was light. The squad moved through a half-abandoned industrial zone, guided by old maps and newer instincts. It was during a pause under a collapsed overpass that Private Ellis, the youngest, finally asked what they were all thinking. He wanted to know if anyone else felt like the mission was watching them, instead of the other way around. Kane shut it down with a look. Doubt spreads faster than gunfire. But the truth was, he felt it too, especially when Lieutenant Rourke, second in command, started subtly testing reactions, asking hypothetical questions about loyalty and protocol that didn't belong in the middle of an op. The first sign something was truly wrong came when Order 7 activated early. It instructed its holder to begin recording biometric and behavioral data on the rest of the squad without disclosure. Brotherhood turned into surveillance with a single sentence. From that moment, every glance felt measured, every pause suspicious. If command didn't trust them, it meant something was already broken. Still, the mission pressed on. Firefights were brief and brutal, objectives cleared with professional efficiency. But the cracks widened as stress mounted. Sealed orders don't exist to support soldiers. They exist to control outcomes when soldiers become variables. King realized late that the 10 orders weren't independent at all. They were steps in a contingency ladder, each one preparing for the failure of the previous. Each assumed that someone would eventually disobey, panic, or turn. The ladder ended at 10, or so they thought. Then the drone drop arrived without warning in a dead zone courtyard. A small armored case slammed into concrete like punctuation. No enemy in sight, no air support overhead. Just the case and a blinking authorization light key to the squad's biometrics. Kane felt the air go cold. There hadn't been a drop scheduled. When Rourke forced the case open, inside was an envelope identical to the others, but marked with a number none of them had seen before. A clean white 11. Silence followed. Everyone knew there were only 10 men, 10 orders, 10 contingencies. The existence of an 11th meant the system had always expected something worse than failure. The order inside was short, brutally precise, written without emotion or justification. Eliminate the designated asset to prevent mission compromise. It was followed by a blank line where a name should have been. The designation would be determined in real time, based on cumulative data from the first 10 orders. The system hadn't chosen yet. This meant the mission wasn't about the target they'd been sent to eliminate. It was about them. Paranoia didn't explode immediately, it crept. Everyone knew reacting too fast could mark them as unstable. King tried to reassert control, ordering weapons lowered, spacing maintained, reminding them that the enemy wasn't each other. But his voice sounded thin even to himself. The 11th Order changed the math of loyalty, turning trust into a liability. As they moved again, the system began nudging them. Subtle prompts through HUD flickers and timed intel drops contradicted each other, just enough to provoke disagreement. When Ellis hesitated during a breach, a half-second late on his sector, Order 11 pulsed faintly, as if considering. Rourke noticed, and Kane noticed Rourke noticing. Suddenly, leadership itself became suspect because command structures are fragile when obedience becomes data. The firefight that followed wasn't the worst they'd faced, but it was the most revealing. Under pressure, old instincts surfaced. One soldier froze, another took initiative without orders, Another covered a teammate instead of advancing. Each deviation fed the algorithm behind the 11th order, recalculating who posed the greatest risk to mission integrity. When the system finally highlighted a designation, it wasn't the weakest or the most reckless. It was Kane himself, the man most likely to override orders to protect his squad. The one variable the system couldn't fully predict. The notification hit everyone at once, a soft tone followed by text none of them wanted to read. Kane saw the shift in their eyes immediately, the way training collided with humanity. Sealed orders don't give you time to debate, they demand action. Kane did the only thing he could to prove the system wrong. He ordered them to ignore it, to complete the mission and walk out together. A refusal was itself a data point. The 11th order escalated, reissuing with higher priority. Rourke's hand drifted toward his weapon, not out of malice, a reflex. A lifetime of conditioning told him that disobeying a direct kill order was how soldiers died and how missions failed. The standoff that followed was quiet and unbearable. Rifles half raised, fingers tight, everyone calculating whether saving Kane would doom them all. Kane realized then that the 11th order wasn't designed to be carried out. It was designed to fracture the unit just enough to reveal who they truly were. In that moment of clarity, he acted. He stepped forward, lowering his weapon completely. He told them that if the system needed a body to justify its predictions, it could have his, but it wouldn't have their souls. And that broke something the algorithm couldn't account for. Sacrifice doesn't fit neatly into risk models. The designation flickered, recalculated, stalled. For a brief second, the 11th order had no answer. In that hesitation, Ellis moved, not to shoot Kane, but to destroy the case itself. He ripped out its core and smashed it against the concrete while alarms screamed and the system tried desperately to reassert control. Gunfire erupted, not between squad members, but toward the sky as automated failsafes engaged. In the chaos, the squad escaped the kill zone together, battered but intact, disappearing into terrain where no satellite could see them and no algorithm could follow. Days later, Command declared the mission a partial success with acceptable losses, quietly scrubbing references to Order 11 from official records. But among the squad, the truth lingered heavier than any classified stamp. The most dangerous enemy they faced hadn't worn a uniform or carried a rifle. It had arrived in a sealed envelope, smiling in bureaucratic certainty, asking them to prove whether obedience mattered more than loyalty. Long after the war moved on, the story of the 11th kill order spread in whispers through barracks and safe houses, not as a warning about betrayal, but as a reminder that the line between control and humanity is thin, and that sometimes the bravest thing a soldier can do isn't to pull the trigger when ordered, but to refuse when the order exists only to see who will. Thanks for watching. If you found this story compelling, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.